Mabel, when she looks at her mom in the casket and she says, "We have the same hands." I had that moment with my mom, and I have a picture of our hands like this that I kind of doctored up. That warmed my heart, and I just wanted to share that that moment was really special for me, as I'm sure it is for other people that have seen it too. So thank you so much.
I'm glad that you really appreciated that scene. You know, this is one of the beautiful things that happens between publishing a novel and seeing it transferred to the screen. So, a little confession. That little line is completely original to the screen production, but it picks up on things that I do repeatedly in the novel, which is to show these little ways in which people are resembling one another and they don't even know it. And they did a wonderful job in, I say they, meaning the screenwriters and Marissa Jo Sarar, the showrunner, in capturing this thing that happens repeatedly in the novel in that one line. It's that sense of recognizing herself. Mabel recognizes herself, but also the emotional connection.
Yes, absolutely. It really did have personal meaning for me. So thank you so very much for that. There's also the one episode that really um stuck with me is episode 6, where Byron has that situation where he gets arrested and then he has to go and be a speaker later that afternoon. And I'm not sure, I haven't read your book just yet, but I'm about to get into it. And I'm not sure if this is in the book, but when he says we don't occupy their imagination the way they occupy ours,
Oh,
I want to know what that means for you as a Black woman author navigating these waters constantly, where I'm sure sometimes you're the only one.
you know, I've written my book on my own, and so then I put it out in the world, in you know, sent it out into the world, and I was fortunate to have support in doing so. So with the novel, I didn't necessarily have that experience. What I can say to you is there was a moment when I wondered if anyone would publish that novel.
Hmm.
I liked the story. I thought it was a good story. I thought people would enjoy what happened, but I thought, gee, if given a choice between two really great stories, and there are lots of great books out there, let's
Yes.
face it, would they maybe not go for the one that has mostly Black people and brown people and Asian and as well as white, different kinds of characters, different kinds of diversity? Would they not necessarily go for that story as much? So that was kind of my experience. And it's very satisfying and exciting to see that many people have embraced the story on the page, but also the screen, and that the people who really put together this screen production and the actors and the screenwriters managed to convey that idea that the world has its diversity. We often talk about diversity in storytelling. Why? Because fiction helps us to come closer to the truth sometimes. The truth is the world that I know, the world that many people know, is a little closer to the world of Black cake than we often see on the screen or in the pages of a book. So maybe I'm turning around the answer to that question. But what I can say is the feeling that it was wonderful to see that happen is sort of the answer there. And I thought, well, because people love a good story, they just have to be open to understanding that, yes, if I've been reading stories about people who don't look like me, who aren't like me all my life, and loving those stories, then can the contrary not be true?
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. That was beautiful. And just to close it out, I have to know, in the film, the Black cake is a favorite recipe, a family recipe that's been handed down for generations. Is that a favorite recipe in your family, or is it something else?
It's a special recipe because my mother made a legendary black cake. Only in my family, we did not call it black cake. We call it rum cake or plum pudding. But my mother grew up in Jamaica and she made a wonderful, wonderful black cake, let's call it Caribbean fruit cake. And she was obsessed with her fruits and she would hide them in the cupboard and they'd soak for months. And that idea is an idea that was transferred to Eleanor in the story Black Cake. This woman who just the fruits soaking for months in preparation for that cake was a very important thing to her.
It's a very important thing to me too, because my mama tore up the black cake that they sent us. Honey,
No,
they sent us two little tins, and I'm like, oh, there'll be one for mommy and there'll be one for me. Charmaine, I can't find neither one of the tins or the cake. My mother didn't. She did scarfed it down somewhere. But I
I
say
love that.
I love it too because that says a lot. Because my mother's very very picky. But in just wrapping this conversation up, I really appreciate the story that you told and the way that you crafted it and the way that you highlighted the LGBTQ plus theme within it amongst Black women, because we don't often see that either. The microaggressions, the family recipes, jealousy between siblings, misunderstanding between siblings, the care and the fragility of young Black men in the justice system. All of those things exist in this one piece. And it's so very powerful and so very necessary. And I thank you.
Well, thank you for your interest. And I'm so glad that you were able to connect with that.
I am too. Thank you so much, Charmaine.
Thank you. It's great to meet you, Carla.
It's wonderful to meet you too. Hopefully this won't be the last time.
I hope not. Maybe next time I'll bring a black cake.
Girl, don't threaten me with a good time.